Okay, great, and welcome back. So now that you know all of the product types, of which there are not too many, but the possibilities, of course, are endless, now let's talk about the marketing formulas that will help you sell those product types. So our first formula is probably the oldest and the most common, and it's called the ascending marketing formula, and sometimes people will refer to this as the ascension model, which is great. And this is a very common formula, and this was actually created in the days of mail order. And the way this works is you sell someone something relatively inexpensive at first, and then you put a great deal of your marketing and sales effort into those people who took that inexpensive offer. And this, like I said, was started in the days of mail order because using the mail as a sales mechanism and as a marketing mechanism is relatively expensive. So instead of trying to sell very expensive stuff to total strangers by mail order marketers would sell very inexpensive, very high quality things to people by mail. They would get a much higher response rate, and then they would take those low ticket buyers and deploy lots more marketing efforts towards them and them only in order to sell them increasingly expensive and more profitable products. So that's how that started, and it has adapted over to the internet beautifully. So this is best used when you have multiple products, and it's a great way to sell all 5 product types if you choose. You don't have to sell all 5, but you can literally incorporate all 5 of them with this model. And in fact, someone who you know probably quite well, our friends at Digital Marketer, are probably the very best in the world at this formula as it applies to doing it online. So I'll diagram it out for you. So here we go. The first part of this formula is, of course, someone opts in, and they opt in for what's called a lead magnet. And I'll show you some new ways to create those during this class. But for now, let's just say they opt in. Now, when they opt in, the first thing they see is going to be an offer for a liquidator product. Now, in digital marketing's terminology, they call this a tripwire, which I think is an interesting name. I think that's a cool name. But it's commonly known within direct response marketing as a liquidator offer. Now, immediately upon seeing the liquidator offer, the fellows over at Digital Marketer make an upsell offer for continuity. Okay, so we now have covered 2 of the 5 product types here, just within this one formula. And remember, this is, boom, right there in the same campaign. So the person opts in, he immediately sees the liquidator offer for $7 when in their case. If the person buys it, they're immediately presented with a continuity upsell offer. Now, from there, if they take the continuity upsell offer, they are immediately presented with a bread and butter product upsell. So now we have the third product type all within the same formula, all happening at one time here, right after the person opted in, assuming they're buying. And then they're placed into a campaign for a modulated course. That typically doesn't happen instantly. That offer isn't usually made instantly. It's made over time. So, modulated courses are typically sold from an automated launch or an actual live launch or a webinar or something like that. And then finally, those customers will be offered a bigger ticket item later down the line. Okay, so this formula for doing it is exactly how Digital Marketer does it, and this is exactly how you can do it if you want to use all 5 product types. Like I said, you certainly don't have to. You could simply do opt-in to liquidator to a bread and butter, right? And skip continuity and skip modulated course if you wanted to, and skip a big ticket. It doesn't really matter. But let's look at what's actually being used today, all right? So speaking of Digital Marketer, with their permission, I have mapped out one of their very, very successful funnels, so to speak. A funnel is really nothing more than a larger part of a campaign, incidentally. But let's have a look and see what those folks are doing. So here's one of their opt-in pages for something called a lead magnet. And in this case, the lead magnet is the ultimate social media swipe plow. Okay, so let's say you go there and you want that, and that's pretty cool, and you're like, all right, cool, you get that for free. You opt in, you're immediately shown a long form sales letter where you can buy what's called an execution plan. Now, this is a liquidator product, right? So you can buy this Liquidator product for $7. Okay, and so if you never buy it, then they'll email you other stuff later. If you do buy it, which a lot of people do because it's pretty easy to say yes to because it's only $7, that's the purpose of the Liquidator, as you know. So if you do purchase that, then you're presented with a video sales letter, which offers you a trial, a $1 trial, to become a member of DM Lab, which is, of course, one of the continuity sites that I showed you in our last video, which is a pretty good site, by the way. So if you do take that offer for a $1 trial, you are now shown another upsell where you can upgrade from a trial member to a full member, and when you do, you get some free stuff. In this case, you get a t-shirt and a signed copy of Ryan's book. Right? Now, if you say yes to that, you are now presented with a bread and butter product. In this case, it is their paid traffic mastery and certification class. And I'm putting this in the bread and butter category because it's discounted in this particular scenario, and it's offered for under $400, which is pretty cool. Now, here's what's interesting. If you buy the $7 thing up there at the top, but you say no to the trial to become a digital marketer member, you're still going to be shown that guy. You're still going to be shown that bread and butter offer. So it doesn't really matter. Either way, you're being presented with all of these offers, regardless of if you say no to the continuity upsell or not. Right? So then after that, you are placed into a campaign for a modulated class. And in this case, that campaign is The Machine, which is a pretty good product. And eventually, you will be offered to join, the opportunity to apply to join the big ticket product, which is called the War Room, which I help facilitate with those guys, which is, of course, an excellent group. So that is classic ascending format. We start with, we start with the opt-in. We offer the Liquidator here. Then we offer continuity 2 times. Then we have bread and butter. Then we have modulated class. Then we have the big ticket thing. So we have all 5 of the product types in this case, which is pretty neat, right? So next, I want to show you the second formula, which is descending. Okay, so descending is interesting, and descending is something that really wasn't possible until the internet came about, because it's so inexpensive for us as information business owners to follow up with prospects. So this is one of my favorite formulas. So in this case, your main offer, the thing that you start out with, is high ticket, and you try to sell that first. So you put a lot of effort into selling that first, and then if they don't buy, you try to sell them other stuff. So this is best used, of course, when you have multiple products, and it's a great way to sell all 5 product types if you choose, or just a combination of those 5 or whatever. Of course, you never have to do all 5 product types, by the way. I'm just showing you all the cool stuff you can do, right? And this is also a great way to monetize small amounts of traffic. So this is a formula that I have used a lot and continue to use. So I'll give you an example. First, I'll map out the process, and then I'll show you from my personal business how I'm doing it myself, right? So the first thing, of course, is we have someone opt in for a lead magnet. And don't worry, I'll show you how to make really cool lead magnets. And I'll give you case studies and examples of other people's lead magnets too here in this class. So we opt in for a lead magnet as normal, and then they are placed in a high ticket campaign. Now, what's different between this and a Liquidator offer is there's a little more effort being placed to sell the expensive thing. So when a Liquidator offer in that funnel I showed you earlier, digital marketers, if they don't take the $7 thing, there's not going to be a tremendous amount of follow-up to get them to take the $7 thing. They'll move on and start promoting something else. In this case, we don't expect them to say yes to the high ticket offer immediately after opting in. That's why we put them in a campaign. So there's some follow-up there to sell the high ticket thing. Now, if they don't buy the high ticket thing, that's fine. We put them in a modulated course campaign, right? And so, again, we don't expect them to buy a modulated course instantly. We know it's going to take some follow-up and some warming up and some nurturing and some provision of value in advance, and that's totally cool. That's why we're using the word campaign there. And then if they don't buy that, then we put them in bread and butter campaigns, and those can be shorter, and there's not as much effort in doing that. And then finally, we can put them in a Liquidator offer and begin an ascending type of formula. So we can descend and then ascend if we want to, all within the same process, or just a few of these blocks. You don't have to do them all. I'll show you how I do it in my business, just to give you an example. And again, please realize that you don't have to do all of these. Okay, so here's mine. I have something, a lead magnet called the Future of Internet Marketing. This lead magnet is designed to get people to watch a video. And here's a screenshot of the video. And this is a 55-minute video of me at a whiteboard teaching something called behavioral dynamic response, which is a relatively, well, it's not relatively, it is a very advanced form of automation and marketing. And the purpose of that video is to get someone to become a customer for one of my big ticket offers. In this case, it is the transplant of marketing funnels and advanced training on how to run really highly automated marketing funnels that have all kinds of cool ninja stuff in there. And it ranges between $12,000 and about $17,000 to invest in that. So naturally, there's a lot of effort that goes into that. So that's part of a campaign. Well, if they don't become a customer of that, which naturally not everybody will, that's normal, then I descend to another campaign which sells a modulated class. In this case, it's selling my Ultimate Webinar Blueprint class. So my campaign gets people to jump on an automated webinar that teaches how to make a good webinar presentation, etc. And if they don't buy that, then I might send them an offer for a bread and butter type of product. In this case, that screenshot you see there is a very quick little email campaign that sells something called Survey Siphon, which is pretty cool, and that's a $68 product. And then if they still don't make a purchase, I can put them in a liquidator campaign where I say, hey, go get a free copy of my book, How to Get Consulting Clients Fast. That book is $5.60, shipping only. It's mailed to your house. And then after you buy that book, of course, you go through some upsells, just like I showed you in the digital marketer funnel. I don't have continuity in this particular funnel, but I do offer a $97 product called Video Black Box. So you have another little bread and butter upsell. And then they're placed in a campaign which sells. Now I'm ascending again now. So I've descended down to the liquidator. Now I'm ascending again. If they get the book there, they're placed in a campaign that puts them in a webinar which sells a class, which is a modulated class called my Advanced Consulting Class, which is $2,860 or $3,500, depending on their payment options. So you can see we descend and then ascend. So that is like the big picture way of how to do descension and ascension combined, which is kind of cool, right? None of this, by the way, is really all that complicated if we think about it in advance and take it one little step at a time. So let's talk about now the third formula, okay? So the third formula is one called cycling. And this is where you have multiple products and you simply cycle the prospect through each of those products. And in this case, they can all be the same category of product, right? Or they can be one or more of the 5 different categories of products. So it really doesn't matter. So if your main thing is bread and butter products, so if you have a whole bunch of little, $97 products or whatever, cycling is going to be perfect for you. If like our friend Betty Rocker, who I showed you in the product categories video a minute ago, who sells health and wellness stuff, she primarily does cycling, where she has multiple bread and butter products and she just cycles people through different marketing campaigns to sell each one, right? So this is pretty cool, and it can be very basic, which is where you cycle people, you cycle your prospects through various product campaigns in no particular order, or it can be relatively complex and sophisticated, where you cycle them through based on behavioral dynamic response, which is something I sort of pioneered, which is pretty complicated, but pretty neat. Whichever one you choose works pretty well. Let me give you an example, by the way. All right. So I'll give you an example in my business. So let's say they opt in for a lead magnet. All right. And that puts them in the mass conversion auto launch. So that's a type of campaign, right? So we're looking at a marketing formula, and a marketing formula consists of various types of campaigns. So an auto launch is a type of campaign. I'll teach you how to do it during this class, of course. So they opt in. They're put in the mass conversion auto launch. They don't buy. That's no problem. Then they're put into the mass conversion automated webinar. That's another type of campaign to sell the same product in this case. And it's the same category of product even. It's a modulated course. Well, let's say they don't buy that. Well, that's no problem. Then they're put into a campaign that will invite them to be on my Ultimate Webinar Blueprint webinar. And if they don't buy that, then they'll be placed into a campaign to put them in my automated sales webinar. And if they don't buy that, then they might be placed into a campaign which is the Info Business Blueprint, which is this class, which would be an automated launch for this class. right? And if they don't buy that, then they'll be cycled into an automated launch for my advanced consulting class. Now, there's really no rhyme or reason or order in which these products are presented right here. I'm just presenting them as a list of campaigns that the prospect will be cycled through after they opt in. And incidentally, every single one of these campaigns is the same category. You remember what category it is? It's the modulated class category, right? So every one of these products is a modulated class. So you can really do a lot with just one methodology and with just one product if you want to. Speaking of that, now let's take it super simple, okay? And this is the fourth formula that we have. And the fourth formula is the linear formula. And this is typically used when you only have one primary product, all right? And a great effort is made to sell that product in a short time. So you put forth a lot of effort to make that sale. And then if you don't make the sale, all of your non-buyers are put on what's called a nurture list. And that's where you send them cool content, blog posts and stuff like that. And you intersperse that with affiliate offers. So, you try to sell them other people's stuff. Or you might have special limited product offers of your own. For example, you might run a discount sale on the very thing they didn't buy when they opted in originally. That's totally normal and it's very, very common. So it works really, really well. And one of the best examples I could give you is someone you might know, and that's our friend Rich Schefren of Strategic Profits. So years ago, Rich really pioneered the use of automated webinars to sell something that I want to call the business growth system. I think there was another letter in there. But anyway, his cool business building program is what it was, right? And he did millions of dollars following this formula. The prospect would opt in, he would put them through an automated webinar campaign, and they would either buy or not. If they didn't buy, they would go on the nurture list, and he would either promote affiliate stuff or send them to content and then maybe take another pass to get them back on the automated webinar or whatever. But that was about it. And Rich's business did really, really well with just that. All right. But I want to show you something. It doesn't have to be an automated webinar. Okay. So a linear formula could be they opt in, and instead of an automated webinar, we put them through an automated launch, which is the same thing. It is just a series of emails, etc., to get people to buy something. And then, of course, if they don't make the purchase, then they go into the nurture category. But it doesn't have to be an automated launch either. It could be something that we call a straight offer sequence. And that's fairly normal, right? The straight offer sequence is they opt in, and they see a sales letter about the thing you want them to buy. If they don't buy it, you send them some follow-up messages directing them back to that sales letter or video or whatever. And if they still don't buy after a week or so, you put them in the nurture category. And then you sell them some affiliate stuff, and you give them good content, blog posts, and maybe you offer a discount on some of your products later. Or when you come out with another product, of course, you promote that product to the people on your nurture list. So that's the most simple of them all, is the linear way, right? So what we've done so far is we've talked about the types of products, and now we've talked about the four formulas for marketing those products. So now what I want to do in the next video is talk to you about the sales methodology. So sales kind of was broken down into campaigns and campaign assets, which is pretty cool. And you know what? There really isn't a lot to that. There's really three primary things that you're going to use to make sales. So your marketing efforts cue people up to make the sale, all right? And all of that is tied together by automation, again, special effects, you're welcome, which I'll be teaching you a great deal of in this class. So that was the overview of the primary formulas that we use to market information products in an info business. You don't have to use all of them. You don't have to do every product type. As you just saw with the linear approach, our man Rich Schefren just did great and made a wonderful living and very successful business off of one automated webinar, selling one product, and that was it. And he was very, very successful doing so. So whichever appeals to you is great. Whichever one you feel like you should do is the one that you feel like you should do. And of course, during this class, I'll show you how to do them all. All right, so we'll conclude this video here, and I'll pick up in our next video where we talk about sales.